Welcome to Origin Stories. I'm RD.
I'm Parrot.
We're telling stories behind the digital art revolution
Each week we interview top artists.
and live stream with the community.
Let's go. Today is tomorrow's origin story.
Justin Wirtalla, welcome to NFT Origin Stories.
Thanks for having me, Roger.
This is a pleasure, and this represents selfishly the start of maybe a sequence of interviews spread across 2022 that reflects a great newer passion of mine, which is photography. And I had the honor and pleasure of finding your artwork, which blew me away. And I think what makes it so appropriate is a lot of people know that I've collected 3D art for a long time. And as we'll get to in a little bit, you're doing some things over in 3D as well. So I feel like that amalgamation of photography and 3D and getting a chance to share your story, it just feels like the perfect moment for it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was great to meet you, and super stoked to be a part of your collection now.
Let's go. Let's get to that in a minute, but it has to start here, man. Take us as far back as you want today. Justin, what is your origin story?
My origin. Actually, I have my very first camera right here. This is a Nikon FM10. It's a fully manual film camera, and this was given to me by my parents like 20 years ago. So this is what I started shooting on, and basically where it all started for me. Just taking pictures around town and trying to find weird angles and things, and going to get the film developed at like 1 hour Walgreens. And I remember I took a black and white film class in high school, and I just like loved the process. It was so fun to just develop my own film and like watch the prints like magically appear in the darkroom. And that was sort of like the beginning of everything for me. So took that class, I think 2 years in a row, just because I liked it so much. And then in college, I just kept taking as many art classes as I could. I took like painting and printmaking and drawing, some more photography classes. And I was all about art, partly because it like got me out of doing academics. It was like my way of avoiding those classes, because I just wasn't interested. I didn't apply myself, so I didn't do well. And but the art world was like something that came pretty naturally to me. So and like at the time, there was no, like, digital photography wasn't really like a thing yet. I think the first digital camera I ever used was like 2 megapixels, so it looked like absolute trash, but like at the time it was kind of cool. So anyway, I kept shooting film, and I remember one family vacation to Cape Cod, Mass. And while I was there, I went to a bookstore and I picked up this book. I think it was called Coastal Effects, and it was by this local photographer, and it was all landscapes of Cape Cod, and like his work was beautiful. And like I was just obsessed with this book. I just bought it and I looked at it all the time. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to make pictures like this. And so I just got like really into the idea of doing landscape photography. But his photos looked so much better than mine, and I was like, it was like completely different league. So I was like trying to figure out what was like separating his work from my work, and some of it had to do with like the quality. I was like, he has so much detail. So I learned that he was using a medium format film camera, which the negatives are like significantly bigger. They were like 2.5 inches or something compared to my little like 35 millimeter. So I was like on a mission now. I'm like, I'm getting bigger cameras. And so I found a Mamiya RB67. It's like a medium format manual film camera. And then eventually I got a 4x5 large format camera. So negatives are like 4x5 inches. So the details were like extraordinary, and I loved it. So I shot on film mostly for like the rest of college, and just became completely obsessed with photography. And then like digital came around, I started getting into that, but still I was like, I love my film camera. So I would still shoot film and scan all the negatives and edit on the computer. So I was like doing like a hybrid process by the time I graduated. And after art school, I knew like I want to be an artist. This is what I want to do, you know? So I would show in some galleries locally and sell like the occasional print, but like making a living was rough, man. So I would still make art, but like I couldn't figure out how to make money. And like one of my biggest things that I feel like I wasn't taught in school was like marketing and business. So like I knew how to make art, I just didn't know how to sell any of it. So I moved back in with my parents a bunch of times, and I was like trying to freelance and just wasn't working out. So I ended up learning video production as a way to make some cash. And even then it was like, it was better for me, but like financially, but it's still like, I couldn't find enough clients, and I didn't have like the marketing brain. So I just struggled for like at least like 6-7 years or something, trying to figure out how to make a living. So I I ended up going down to Philly actually to film
It's my area.
yeah, to film a video about this running club there called the Fishtown Beer Runners.
I know that, bro.
You know?
Yeah. I've not run with them, but definitely know of it.
So I made this video, and there were all these cool stories that people were telling me, like really like life-changing stories. And I was like, wow, this like there's a lot more to this. So over the next like 8 months or so, I ended up making a feature-length documentary, which like I shot, I edited, I color graded, and I wrote the entire like music score for it. And so I was like, I don't know how that I ended up like doing that, but it just was like the natural progression of like running with the beer runners, is like you become a part of their community. So I'm making this doc. We ended up going over to Spain to shoot a bunch of the documentary. And a year later, I found myself on the stage at the Philly Film Fest, like answering questions about the screening, about the premiere. And like, it was just so surreal, like thinking like, wow, I just went down there with no expectation. But it was a really cool experience. But anyway, after a year of doing a passion project and making no money, I had moved back in with my parents again. So I was there for like 3 months. I'm like 30 years old. I'm like, what am I doing? You know? So I ended up taking a job with the PGA Tour as a commercial editor. And so I moved to Florida, and I was making their commercials, and it was actually like a pretty great life. Like I was living on the beach and surfing all the time. And it was really fun for like the first year, but you know, golf is not my passion. And the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, you know, regardless of like how great life is outside of work, I don't think I can like edit golf commercials for the next like, you know, 40 years or whatever. So I ended up quitting my job, and I headed out west, and I was like living in my car. I ended up in Montana, where I ran into like this crazy community of amazing photographers, and I started spending like every day with them. And I had, I think, like more adventures than I've ever had in my life, just that summer with all those guys. But I should backtrack though, because in 2008, I took my first road trip across the country.
Wait,
And
pause real quick.
I gotta go back in time.
Okay, I want to go back further than that real quick.
Okay.
We're going to hold the thought on 2008 first road trip. I want to know the camera that it's so awesome that you brought it and showed it here. That camera, that exact camera. I want to know, what is the first shot that you remember taking on it, and did that make it out the other side at the Walgreens or wherever you were going? What made it out the other side that you can remember?
Honestly, I cannot remember. I have, you know, a mixture of photos that I remember taking with this camera, only because I still have some of the prints. But the first one, that's tough, man. That was
Okay, let me change the question. Alternative question. Pick one memorable photo that came out of that camera that you do remember, and tell a quick story behind it.
Oh man, even that's tough. That was a long time ago, man. Let me think. Well, I could talk about a project, maybe.
Awesome.
I used this camera to shoot a project where it was a color film project, which I was like making the prints in the darkroom and everything. I sprayed hairspray. I saw this in a magazine. I sprayed hairspray on the lens filter.
Mhm.
So it made it like really like foggy and misty. And then I got the fastest film I could find, like ISO 1600, which is really sensitive to light, but it also has like huge amounts of grain. So the details are not really there, but it gave this really cool effect that was like a stipple, like painterly effect. And I shot all kinds of like rural scenes in Connecticut where I grew up. And there was this one photo that these two horses, they were like so beautiful. They were in this spot, this field, and it was like super dense fog. But I snapped that photo, and it was like one of my favorite pictures that I've ever taken. And when I went to scan the image, so I made like a couple prints in the darkroom, right? So there was like maybe 3 prints of this thing. And then when I went to scan the image, it got stuck. The negative got stuck in the scanner, and I tried to pull it out, and it like put this huge slice like right through the image. So the negative was like gone forever. But I still have like a print hanging at my parents' place. And then I think I sold another one and gave a third one away. So I only have one left, but it was, oh man, I love that photo.
Amazing, man. Hey, it's origin stories, right? I got to go all the way back. I got to try to,
No, it's
try to
good.
pull it up. That's a good story though. That the fact that there are 3 out there and you kind of gave one, sold one, and keep one, part of the legacy, man.
It's crazy. I haven't thought about that in a long time. It just popped up in my head when you asked me that. So it's kind of cool to think about. But yeah, I'm breezing through my history because it's a long one. So
No, that's good. All right, so let's get to that 2008 road trip then. Tell us about that.
So I grew up in Connecticut, spent all my time in New England there while I was there before I moved to Florida. And so a lot of my pictures were just from like Vermont, Connecticut, local. And then I hopped in the car, did a road trip across the country, and just spent 30 days like shooting all these different national parks and just seeing as much of the country as I could. And it was like, that was like life-changing for me, because I'd seen photos of the West, but it's different when you get out there and see how the magnitude of these places. It's very different than looking at a picture. So it blew my mind, and I was like, I knew someday I wanted to live out west, especially if I was trying to become a photographer, an outdoor photographer. But anyway, I thought that was going to be like my once in a lifetime cross country road trip. I'm good to go. I got back, and then I ended up doing it again the next year. And same thing, like 30 days, different parks, different places. And I was just like hooked, man. So, fast forward back to like, quitting my job in Florida and heading out west. That was like the continuation of the dream that I had like built over that couple years. So now I'm out in Montana, and I'm just like, overwhelmed by the beauty. And I was fortunate enough to meet a bunch of really great people, really great photographers who kind of introduced me to this whole like adventure outdoor community. And I just like fell in love with it, man. So I spent the entire summer, sunrise, sunset, hiking all the time. I was completely wrecked, had no energy, but it was like one of the best summers of my life. And so that was the start of like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm definitely going to do this. I learned that you can, link up with brands and things and do, create some really cool work for them while like really enjoying your time outside. So I'm like, yeah, that sounds like my kind of job, So once it started to get cold, I moved to Portland, Oregon, had no money, and moved right downtown. So it was super expensive. And like I had a little micro studio that I rented from the internet, never even went and saw it until the day I moved in. And it was like 275 square feet. Like I remember opening the door and just like started laughing, because this place was like a kitchen and like a bed and a bath. And I was like, wow. All right.
Did it look bigger online?
Yeah, dude. They used a really wide angle lens for that one, man.
Good photography there.
Yeah, I was impressed. So But anyway, yeah, I sort of just had a hope that I would be able to find some clients before I like ran out of cash, and it turns out I did. It took a little while to build up, but I was like constantly reaching out to people, and eventually built up a little network of people that I really enjoyed working with. And so the next couple of years I just spent around the Northwest, just exploring and seeing as much as I could. And that's a big part of like some of my more recent work, is like some work from the Northwest there. And then eventually moved back to Montana, continued the work, spent a lot of time in Glacier National Park. And then this past year, I built out an SUV with a bed and everything so I could live out of it. And so been traveling around the country, and that's been like the past year or so. It's just taking pictures constantly, and sort of living out of my car and bouncing around from family and friends, and just living with them for a little bit. And yeah, trying to see as much as I can, because I think that was a big thing, is like doing this, like it's so much more beneficial if you can be on the road all the time. And it's just I've gotten so many really cool pictures just because of the fact that I happened to be sleeping in my car, and I woke up and saw like, ooh, the sky looks good. And like I never would have like planned to go to that spot, but epic things happen when you're put yourself out there. So but yeah, here we are. I'm back in Northwest Montana and hunkering down for the winter.
I like that quote a lot. Epic things happen when you put yourself out there. I think that is so true. And like you said, the most fortuitous random stuff seems to occur. So I enjoy that story of, just you traveling all over the place and finding that sky or that scene that suits you. So where on these travels do NFTs hit your radar?
Well, my best buddy who was in Florida, actually, that was the first time I heard the word, or the acronym NFT. And I was, I should have listened to him. I really should have, because I probably could have like picked up an ape or something around then for like $400 or whatever. But
Right.
it was like at the beginning of last year when I heard that, and he bought something. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. I just don't like have the cash to invest in that right now. It just seemed like a risky play to not have like, I didn't have like expendable income at that point. So, but then this past year I was talking with some folks like Ricardo, Famous Fickle, and Finn Matson, and we got on a phone call together, and we were just all talking about, how to get involved. And Finn had already been involved for a little bit. So they're the ones who like got me motivated to look into it more. And then I got an invite from Ben Scar onto Foundation. And then I minted my first couple pieces, and I think that was in May of last year. Yeah.
When you minted your first piece, by the way, shout out to Ben Scar for giving that invite. I think it's amazing. He seems to be a really positive presence around the community.
Fantastic, man. Yeah, he's a good dude.
When you mint that first piece, so take us from when your friend told you about NFTs, the acronym, didn't click, seemed risky. Get the foundation invite from Ben. You're minting your first NFT. What do you expect, if anything, at that time?
Honestly, nothing. I didn't expect anything. I thought like this seems like the coolest thing. I had no idea what's going to happen, but I knew I wanted to be a part of it. And it's just seemed like a new, weird, wild world. And I was like, all right, let's go. Like, I didn't want to ignore it. I feel like I've spent a lot of my life hearing about new and interesting things, but not adopting them, just hearing them, and then watching things unfold in front of me. And like, I want to be involved in this. Like this seems like the type of community that I want to be involved in. And like technologically, it's like the future. And it just felt right. So I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So take us back. So, going to your foundation page, currently 5 works on there. First mint ever is Dark Star. How do you choose the artwork?
Ooh, it's a good question. That piece seems like it was like to me, it's like it was a conceptual thing, not like I necessarily meant it intentionally when I was shooting or like, you know, compositing things or editing or whatever. It's just like when I look at it, it evokes emotion in me. It makes me feel like there's like a world beyond or something like that. And I don't know if that's too literal or anything like that, but it just makes me feel like there are things out there that I can't possibly understand, but if I like step forward through this like portal, like amazing things can happen. So it's like it's worth the risk, you know what I mean? So that one felt like this was the perfect like opportunity to like it went hand in hand with what I was doing. So I'm like I'm minting this piece.
You stepped through the portal.
I did. Yeah.
So take us through, give us the play-by-play, right? So do you mint one work and let's see? Do you mint multiple works at the beginning? And the legendary Cactus in the photography community comes in at some point, but give us the play-by-play as you remember it, from how many do you mint? When does he come in? How does it all go down?
I minted that first piece. I didn't have a plan. You know, everyone told me to have a plan. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make a plan. But then I'm like, I can't wait. This is so exciting. I have all this work. Like, I want to get involved now. So I minted that piece. And then I was just going to like let that hang out for a bit. But then I was like, I thought of that, the Frozen. I thought of that piece and was like, this would be perfect to mint. Like, I don't want to wait either. I liked the feeling of, it was like exhilarating minting a piece, you know? And I sort of liked that adrenaline, and maybe it was like a little addicting. I'm like, you know what? It's been a little while since maybe it's been a couple of days. I don't remember how long it took me, but I just said, what the heck, and minted it, you know? But those two pieces, I think they hung out there for maybe about a month or two. I'm trying to remember. I think those sold in, I want to say June.
Let's see. Let's go back. Let's do this. Let's click through. So Dark Star, first ever Justin Wirtalla mint on May 29th, 2021. And almost a month to the day. No, sorry. A month minus a week. So June 22nd, Cactus comes in and places the bid, meets reserve at 2 ETH, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Yep. I was in tears, man, when that happened. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. That was amazing.
And it's the same day. So the same day reserves are met on both of them, which is, I mean, I can't even imagine that day lives in infamy, right? But I mean, Frozen, as I've told you, I think the first work, Dark Star, is incredible. I love the portal analogy. I can see it. I can step through it. It is a perfect first piece, but Frozen just sings to my heart. It's just this white snow-covered mountain with this beautiful sky with a lot of white. It just looks perfect. Yeah. I love those works that go, towards like monochromatic.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
And what happens then? So this mega day, both pieces meet reserve, both go to the collection of Cactus. What do you do next?
I had to process that for a bit. I was just so excited. And honestly, at that point, I wasn't really sure what to do next. I think I was just so excited to make those sales. And then I paid off some debt, which was nice. But I wanted to keep making new work. Like at the time, I was like, I didn't want to just continue to mint all my old work. I wanted to like make some new things. So I kept on like the adventure track. I started like just this was in, let's see, this was 2020, right? Or no, this was 2021.
2021, man. Yeah.
Crazy. Okay, yeah.
So we are living in a true time warp, by the way. So you're not alone in that. It does feel like about 5 years have passed.
Yeah, it's wild, man. This space moves so fast. But yeah, so I spent the rest of the summer, I was living in the Forerunner and I was just driving around. I had a lot of work to do. So I was pretty busy. So I was like doing the brand work and just trying to make new artwork constantly. So I didn't mint anything, I don't think, for a little while. I think my collection was the next thing that I minted. Man, it's crazy to think about this. This has moved so quickly.
Let's take a look back. So for sure, Fable was minted in August 18th. So that was your next foundation piece. But if we look to OpenSea for your collection,
that was September.
That was September. There you go.
Yeah.
So you minted Fable first,
Fable,
and
then the collection.
Yep.
Yep.
And the collection was September 4th, 2021.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The drop was on the 5th. That's right. Yeah. Then things just got wild. Then I was like all sucked into the NFT world completely. Like once I had the collection out there and, you know, I got some sales on that, I was able to start buying some other people's artwork, which was like super exciting to me. Cause as an artist, I really like connecting with other artists, and I like to, you know, be a part of, you know, what they're building too. And it's just cool. It's like this, that's why this community is so great. But it was really fun to just start collecting. That was like a different side of like how I felt about art. I'm like, yeah, I want to like make my own gallery and stuff like that. So I got like really excited about buying other people's artwork. I bought Phil. He goes Fly Images. He does a lot of aerial stuff with surfers, and I bought one of his pieces that I've looked at for so long. It's called To the Moon, and it's like this surfer, like an overhead shot, but he blended it in with the stars, so it looks like he's taking off like a rocket. And like
Nice.
that was the first NFT I bought. Yeah, love that
Amazing.
piece. Yeah.
And keep going. Take us now. You can start to detour. Take us any other milestones that stand out in your mind when it comes to either foundation, your collection, your literal collecting, anything along the NFT road.
Well, I think NFTs started, you know, okay, so I was getting very burnt out with photography. This is something I've done for a very long time. And over the past, you know, 5 years or so, it's been like extremely intense all the time. It's been my whole life, and which is really good. But I think I was getting fried like creatively. And so I think that NFTs came around at the perfect time for me because they opened me up to the 3D world. And so I just started like really like getting invested in like what the 3D artists were doing. I'm like, this stuff's so cool. I started getting so much exposure on these crazy 3D pieces. And so I'm like, it just seemed like it was like out of my league. I'm like, I don't know if I can spend that much time on a computer. I'm not sure. Because part of what I love about photography is like being out there and like being in nature. But I realized I was getting burnt out from traveling, like living in a car, constantly being on the road. And I'm like, you know what? I just want to be indoors. I want to sit on a computer. And like, so I'm like, I took like a little course by Kai Wan, and he, I don't know if you've seen his work. Kai Wan Shaban, I think is
I haven't.
his name.
No.
His work's really good, but he has like a really cool course teaching Blender. And so I took that course, and at first I was just, I'm like, this is really difficult, because the first few pieces I made were like absolute trash. Like, I don't know if I can continue with this. But anyway, I got really interested in it. I kind of put that aside for a second and kept doing some more photography. But I realized like, this is something that I want to pursue. Like creatively, I liked the feeling of allowing like my imagination to run wild and not being limited by things that are in the real world. I know there are endless things you can do with photography, but for me, I didn't want to start shooting stuff in the house or like setting up scenes. I just wanted to create whatever was in my head. And to me, the best tool for that is 3D art. So I just sat down and started making things, and gradually I made a cool thing here, a cool thing there. I'm like, I'm going to do this, you know? So that's where NFTs took me next, was like, you know, realizing that I hit a wall with photography, and I needed something to keep the creative momentum going. Not that I'm going to stop photography. I just needed to pivot for a second, and I needed to learn some new things, because I like that I can also use photography in these 3D pieces as well. So to me, it's like the best of both worlds. And So that's kind of where I'm at right now, is like, I'm going to pursue this like full time and learn, really get as good as I possibly can at 3D art.
What I love so much about, I mean, you're beginning to share now. I believe you're in the teens now of sharing what you're doing in 3D art, which is really, really interesting to see. What strikes me initially is, you know, even though you might sit there and say, oh, I have a huge journey ahead of me, I'm going to get a lot better, you know, I'm progressing day over day. To me, the same thing that I see on your Instagram, your past work, the stuff that you shared over in photography, which is 20 years in the making, I looked at that and I thought, man, I really respect Justin's eye, the curation, the just how you put it all together. The fun thing for me, because I did get started in collecting over in the 3D world, I just see that eye coming out in your initial pieces. And I think these things, provided it's what you want to continue doing, but I think if the passion sticks, man, it can be something really, really special.
I appreciate it. I think a lot of the things that, the experience in photography has been super helpful because, though like it's a whole new tool set to learn, um, things still apply, like composition and types of cameras and lighting and things like that. So I feel like a lot of that stuff is carried over into the 3D world. And that's what I learned very quickly. I'm like, yes, okay. Like if I do this, then it can look like that. And like, I have this thing in my head and I know just from photography, I can at least get to a certain point where I'm like, I can make that appear on the screen. I don't know. And then I got to learn all like the little detail things and how to make it look interesting and not like super rudimentary, but the basics still apply. Good composition is good composition, and there's no arguing with that, right? Like, I mean, so
The composition is there, man. What's the, out of the stuff that you shared, so that someone who's listening or watching this could right now, if they wanted to, go to your profile and take a look at it, what is the piece that you're either most confident in or makes you the most excited?
It's tough to say because I'm in that learning phase and it's a frustrating phase, but I really like this. I really like this image. Like it's the first one I made on January 1st with these astronauts and their moon rover or whatever. And I was like so excited because I liked the cinematic look that was like, developing. I'm like, this is so cool. I feel like you can make movies with this stuff, movie stills. And so I liked that piece. And it was also the beginning of the project. So I'm like, this is fun.
Again, you choose the symbolic piece because it is January 1st, setting out for this new year. It does look like they were embarking on some sort of a like cinematic mission.
Sure. I wish that was intentional.
And you are, off you go, right?
It was subconscious. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. You kept the theme. So let's see, as of recording today, to now flip back to the photography side of things on Foundation, to flip back to today, you've had 3 pieces collected within the past week plus, essentially. One, as of recording today, I believe auction just finalized. Talk through, so the pieces are Fable, Weightless, and Sandwave. Pick one or two and tell a story.
Fable was a cool moment because it's a composite image, but all from the same situation, but these unbelievable elk. I was at where was I? Point Reyes in California with my buddy John, and we pulled over. We saw these elk. They were on the perfect hill. It's like nothing but sky in the background, birds landing on them and flying around, and man, it was just majestic. And I just remember like pulled out the camera, shot a bunch of photos, and then just stopped and just stared because it was like just in awe of these creatures. I got a bunch of really interesting pictures of a couple of them where like their antlers were like intertwined and making shapes and things like that, which was really cool too. And
I think one of those interplay shots is on your OpenSea collection.
It is, yeah. It's called Kinship, and
Mhm.
I almost thought it was gonna make a heart. It was
Yeah.
like perfect, but yeah, I liked how they were like, back to back like that, and that was a cool day. Just the day at the beach and just enjoying some nature, and that moment was wild to see them. Like I didn't even know there were elk over there, but apparently,
Mhm.
yeah, it was
How do
cool.
you, something I really enjoy is naming. I do, why we're here, I gravitate to a story. I do gravitate to context. I like when an artist lets us in, but also maybe withholds a little. So I do appreciate that juxtaposition to maybe not share everything, maybe leave a little bit up to the viewer, the collector as well. But I appreciate a good name. And when you look at this artwork, Fable is perfect. It does look somewhat magical. You see all of these birds, it's the silhouette of the elk, and you see all of these birds flying away from the body. It seems like it's a page taken out of Fable. So I don't know how, maybe it's a simple story, maybe it's not, but how do you arrive at that name?
Well, no, that's exactly it. Like to me, it looked like a fairy tale. It
Mhm,
looked like it did look like something out of a storybook. So
mhm,
I was like, I'm not going to make up a story
mhm,
necessarily for this because I do like viewer interpretation. I
mhm.
do like people formulating their own, like using their own imagination when they look at my work and kind of sort of just allowing them to process it how they want. And unless there's something I need to get across, unless there's like this piece needs the story behind it, or this piece needs a caption or a title that, like, without that it's not the same piece.
Right.
So I like what you said about like some things need to be up for interpretation, but others, like, it needs to be there when it's essential.
Yeah. It's like I'll ask and I'll ask and I'll ask, but if there ever is a situation where an artist is like, no, I'm good, like that's enough,
Yeah.
I'll smile and fist pump. I'll be like, hell yeah, I can get behind that. Even if I really wanted to know, I can now strike off and form my own conclusions.
Right on.
Yeah. And let's give a shout out to three really positive influences in the NFT space: the triumvirate of Benny, Redbeard, Will Savas, and Zanzibar. The three of them doing amazing things in the in and around the photography space and far, far beyond that together. And they collected your most recent work, Sandwave.
They did.
Maybe talk a moment about that shot.
Well, Cannon Beach is that location, and that was actually that place was the what sparked the idea for my first road trip back in 2008, because I kept seeing pictures of that, and this is obviously before Instagram, so like I saw this stuff on maybe like Flickr or like whatever the thing was at the time. But I basically drove all the way across the country to see Cannon Beach and hit some spots in between because that was like my main goal. So when I moved to Portland, like that place always just like felt like home to me. And I was obviously like 3,000 miles away from my home and my family and stuff. So going there, like I feel like I subconsciously would always go there. Like I was there pretty often just because I loved it there. So any piece from Cannon Beach, which I think I do have a couple, but that piece in particular, just a beautiful, sunny, like, I mean, obviously you don't get that much sun there, but man, when the sun comes out, it is like magical. So I love those hazy sunsets at Cannon Beach, and like it just always makes me feel like a very peaceful, relaxing feeling. So and those the ripples in the sand, like I was obsessed with those. I must have shot those for like an hour, man. Like yeah, that was a good day.
Good day. I
But
like
yeah,
it.
yeah, huge thank you to those guys for picking up that piece of work. That was an awesome experience yesterday morning to get that bid.
Fun moments, man.
Yeah,
All right, Justin, ready to play a game?
sure. Let's
The
do it.
lightning round. So most important thing is no rules, but try to keep it to hot takes. Could be a word, could be a couple words, could be a sentence. Just quick hitter. I lob something at you. First thing that comes to mind, and we just keep things rolling.
All right.
All right. We'll start nice and easy. Lightning round topic number one. NFTs. First thing comes to mind.
Community,
Ethereum.
future,
Photography NFTs.
uh, passion,
Landscapes.
Life.
Moons.
3D art.
Going back to that astronaut shot. I like it.
Mhm.
Okay, back on track. Here we go. Back to the lightning round. Ricardo Braz.
Talented.
Finn Madsen.
Compositionally savage.
Marvin Court.
Legend.
Famous Fickle.
Minimalist.
The last artwork that you saw chronologically, the last thing that you saw that made your jaw drop.
That's a really good question. Not quick enough for this one. You know what the problem is? I've seen too many. Overload every day. All I do is flip through artwork.
Yep. That's why I try to preface chronologically, because the question drives people to start ranking things in their mind, and no one wants to rank someone above or below someone else. That's why it's like the literal last one that you scrolled to prior to this interview.
Oh, okay. Phil's piece, he just released it on Super Rare, and it's of a surfer like surfing right over a waterfall. Easy. Yeah.
Beautiful.
That one blew my mind. Yep.
All right. The artwork or artist or both, the intersection of the two, that you want more people to have eyes on, that you feel like it's a travesty that there are not more eyes on blank.
A style of artwork, or
it could be anything. It could be a person, could be a singular artwork, or could be an overarching style of artwork.
I would like to see more eyes on 3D work.
Nice.
Yeah.
The year 2021.
The year of the NFT.
The year of 2022.
The year of photography NFTs.
Nice. There you go. Beautiful. Well done on the lightning round. This isn't necessarily a lightning round question, but it segues out, and that is this. What's next? I mean, we went over an incredible journey from hearing about NFTs and maybe not being ready to saying, I got to dive in now. This is so exciting. Minting a few, seeing that take off, getting to some amazing collections, releasing a collection on OpenSea, and now exploring the wide world of 3D and taking your composition over there. So what is next? What can people expect?
Well, maybe you've noticed, maybe you haven't, but I started an Everydays project with my 3D work as an effort to learn as much as I possibly can and just stay diligent about learning and to basically, keep myself on track. So I'm making a piece every single day from start to finish, and to add, a little bit more accountability to it, I'm going to be minting these pieces at the end of each month. I'm not sure necessarily the timeline yet, but basically there'll be monthly mints of all these everydays, and yeah, it's basically to I want people to be on this journey with me. So like that's what this is. I want to document this whole year of learning 3D art from beginning to end, and I want to be able to look back on it and see where I started and see how much I grew and see how I can create under pressure and time restraints and when I don't feel like creating and when I'm not inspired. So I want to go through the entire process and all the ups and downs. And so, yeah, I think this project is going to be just a big, long journey. And who knows, maybe I'll continue on after the year. But for right now, I have my goal, 365 days of everydays. And yeah, that's the plan for the year. So still have to make today's.
It's amazing. It's both light and heavy at the same time, or heavy and light, right? Whichever way you want to look at it, where it's light, it's free, it's brave. It's to say, come along this journey with me. And I am throwing caution to the wind and minting them, really minting them right from square one. I think that's incredible. I think it's that indelible record on the blockchain of the best days and the worst days and the in-between days. the heavy sides of the pressure, right? I'm sure there will be days that are tough, days that life intervenes, days to figure out, right, how to squeeze it into maybe a short frame of time. I love it. I love the story behind it. And I I really think from someone, me, who has observed your artwork very intensely over the past several weeks, really just dove down the rabbit hole of Justin Wirtalla. Like, I have such tremendous belief in your composition and your eye and your curation. I can't wait to see how that expresses itself on the 3D side. I think we're seeing that, right? We're seeing that unfold now into the teens of days. I personally think it looks like it may turn into something quite special. And to think that it all started on a day one and that you're actually going to mint that and it will continue to a day 31 and 101 and on and on. It's a very, very cool. It fires me up from the art side, fires me up from the collector side as well.
Nice. Yeah. Putting it on the blockchain is definitely some pressure, because initially, like, that's where you put your best work. So the idea of putting your learning pieces up there too is scary.
One of my favorite examples of that. The story matters to me so much in this case, and it's an artwork that I was lucky enough to collect, but it's Fuckrender's first mint. He put it out there. It's called First One. And it's a table, it's a table in a room. And I find that so fun and such an amazing idea that another artist who I really believe in is going off and exploring these massive horizons and creating literal universes. And it all ties back to those first 4 hours, placing a table in a room, and putting a plate on that table. I think that is fascinating. And to me, almost more special than an artwork that bowls you over for being so intricate and beautiful and composed. That is almost more special in a way. And so you're about to release that day one. That is cool.
It's pretty exciting. So yeah, both very excited, very nervous, but overall, I think for me, this is something that I needed very badly. And it was to feel like I'm being creative every day. And I realize that I'm much happier when I'm making things. And like I said, I don't want any restrictions. I just want to be able to use my imagination and make whatever I want. And I don't want to feel like I have to travel 6 hours to do it in a car, or like, I love camping. I love being out there. But for right now, I just want to get up and create like every day. And so far it's just been, it's been awesome to just like go through that process every day and go to bed knowing like, all right, I made something. That's amazing. Like, I made something, anything, doesn't matter. And like, get up and repeat the process.
May 2022 be a weightless fable of 3D creation. I had to do it. I'm a dad joke guy. I like my puns. I had to do it. But for real, may the runway, just take you through any tough days, but may most of them be that feeling of, I'm happy to wake up and do this. I created that thing on to the next. I think before long, you look back at that first month and then ultimately that year, it's wherever you go from there, it's a pretty special thing.
I appreciate you, man. That's exciting.
Where can the NFT Origin Stories family find you? Where would you like to direct people if they had to go to that first place and then maybe a couple other places after it?
Twitter seems like a pretty good spot. I'm on Twitter, Jay Wirtalla. I'm on Instagram, Jay Wirtalla. And, you can find my links there.
Wirtalla.
That's right.
Amazing, man. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. And hopefully, I've said this to a lot of past guests, and we'll do it at some point, but Origin Story milestones, where I think a lot of people have to come back and tell us how the year that has passed went. I would love to have you back after the year of 3D and just to see where the project takes you. That would be a very special interview.
Yep. I'll probably have some bags under my eyes and look pretty drained, but sure, I'm happy to come back, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Of course, man. It's a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Absolutely.